And then from your standpoint, from a more clinical standpoint than mine, like, is there truth behind that, that there has to be some sort of mental illness in order for you to have committed a mass shooting?
Uh, I think that I would be more comfortable saying that there has to be, I would think that there would be some pattern of violence and some pattern of thinking that is not what we would call balanced.
Right.
You know, possibly a history of aggression or impulse control. But I think this is such a complex issue for our society and for society in general that we can't point to one thing, frankly.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, actually, for me to wrap my head around the fact that someone would do would take part in a mass shooting like that if their thinking wasn't unbalanced in some way.
Right.
Now, I can't say that I think they have definitely would have a mental illness diagnosis,
Right.
but I can see where the general population
Yeah.
would think, well, that person had to be crazy to do that. Okay, well, that's what we would consider crazy at the time. At the time they did it, would they be considered kind of crazy thinking, quote
Yeah.
unquote?
And I
I
think,
would think yes. I
yeah,
mean, I would think yes, they would be, because what sane person would actually take the life of people you don't even know, maybe school children or, you know, as that kind of a statement? I mean, that is an extremist position.
yeah, I think you have to, from my standpoint, you look at it from what's what was their motivation,
Uh huh.
what really, what were they putting in, what was the motivation and how did they get to that point? And really, when you take all of it into account, what's next? Like, that's the big question more than anything, is what will we do to help a person, help prevent this type of thing from happening, because it's happening more frequently. What do we do next?
Well, um, access to mental health counseling is vital,
Right.
and everyone doesn't have access to mental health counseling. We know that it's hard to get mental health counseling if you don't have the insurance that will pay for it, or you don't have the money to pay for it. Even if you have insurance, the issue with that is maybe you have to meet a deductible
Right.
before it will even pay for it. I want to know what happened to mental health parity. That we don't really have mental health parity. There's a law that says we have it, but there's a way that people are skirting that and getting around it. So not everyone has accessibility to mental health counseling or treatment or psychiatrists or medications that are needed to help mental health issues. So I think, looking at someone's personal stress level and their relationships, access to firearms, whether they have a history of violence, um, things that they're saying. But as a healthcare professional, as a mental health professional, the first time I ever had anything happen in my counseling practice was I was a pretty young counselor at the time, and man came into my office it was for a couples counseling really, but he was there by himself, and I didn't realize it until later when his wife told me on the phone that he had a loaded 9mm weapon on him in my office. And I knew there was something off. I knew that I felt threatened in some way by what he was saying, and I knew that I felt edgy. There was something I wasn't trusting about it. And then after she told me that, then I realized, oh, okay, my instincts were right on
Right.
there. So, but that person I know went on to a psychiatric facility inpatient and was discharged from there and actually did commit suicide.
Now, the part of the debate that a lot of that goes around a lot is that individuals who are noted to have any type of issues should not be allowed to have access to firearms. Do you feel
I'm not opposed to that. It's that, um, I, I mean, why, I'm more of a gun control advocate, I guess, because I don't think that we need that many guns around. And people that are going to do violent crimes, they're going to get the guns anyway. So as we know, the highest percentage of violent crimes are perpetrated by friends, acquaintances, relatives, loved ones, quote unquote, people that you know. They're not these kind of mass shootings.
yeah.
And we have the 24/7 access to all the information now, so we know it seems like there's more of them, but I don't know that there really are.
You know, the scary part of gun control conversations for me is the part of everyone says like, well, he was so quiet, and
Hmm.
we never suspected this would happen, or we didn't
You're
think it.
quiet when you're not on air.
That's exactly where I was going, and it's sort of like it's saying, well, hold on, if I chose to, I'm not a. I've personally seen up front what gun violence does. Like I've actually seen it in my life, and that's why I'm not pro. You know, I
Uh-huh.
don't. I'm not trying to rip guns away from individuals, but for where I'm from, it's real. Like
Hmm.
it's not about hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
It's about tearing a life down, and so that's way too real for me. And I
Hmm.
don't joke with it, and I don't really care. Yeah, it's our constitutional right, but I view them as killing machines. I've lost people. It's real. It's a real emotion. I'm not just saying in
Yeah.
theory what I'll do if someone breaks in my house. People have broken into my house. Like I know the reality of what guns do. I don't like them.
I found
However,
out when I just found out about, well, when I was about 37, so quite a while ago,
yeah,
I found out that my maternal grandfather committed suicide with a shotgun.
it that's
If there hadn't been a shotgun around, what
right.
would a man do? I mean, that's the most
Well,
violent way that you can commit suicide. So, and that's the way that most elderly men who threaten suicide do use do shoot themselves.